What the heck was that? What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Titans Rundown. I am your host, Micah McCamey, and I am delivering this episode with a very heavy heart because this was not a fun game to watch whatsoever. I am very upset about how we played. I wrote down a bunch of notes about the game, and I'm going to go over them with you. Because here's the thing: game started out absolutely amazing. We forced a fumble on the first play of the game. I'm not talking about the first offensive play of the game. I mean, like the very first play, kickoff. We forced a fumble, and we were in there, and we were in their range, but we couldn't let But we didn't let Derrick Henry do his thing because we had a false start immediately. So we kicked the field goal. And I was thinking, okay, new offensive system, new O line, it's going to take a little bit to adjust. Right. Right. So, yeah, it was a wasted opportunity in the red zone, but the field goal was fine, 3-0, whatever. Secondary should have been a bad sign whenever the first play was Michael Thomas catching an absolute dart from Derek Carr, and that was just. And we did end up holding them, which was a good thing, not as in like holding like the penalty, but like we held them to a field goal, and that was all fine and good. And then Derrick Henry was just about as good as you could ask him to be, even with as bad of an O line and as bad of an offense in general we've had. Yeah, he was one of the only bright spots of today's game. So, and the D line was pretty good until that fourth quarter. But yeah, and he had a nasty stiff arm on one of the drives. And yeah, both teams just went back and forth with field goals for a while. It was like 9-9 in the third. Then Ryan Stonehouse had an awesome punt, like he always does. He had amazing punts today. Again, another bright spot of the game. And then we had a bunch of sacks. Like I think that we had back-to-back sacks. Arden Key was playing awesome the entire game. Big Jeff was doing his thing. Danico Autry played solid. Like again, defensive line played awesome. Everything else was not in play. Specifically how the secondary treated Chris Olave like he was just a nobody. That was the worst part by far. Yeah, but then there was also a play where it could have very easily been overturned as a fumble. It was the exact same thing Dobbs did last year against the Jags, but, Jags are a more marketable team. I know that that's a bold statement to make, but like I feel like that more marketable teams have an advantage over small market teams because I feel like that, some of the NFL executives want the rest to try and be a little bit more in their favor. But it was not good. The call overturn wasn't because Derek Carr fumbled the ball, and he should have been, and that should have been penalized for. But anyway, then Tannehill went on to throw a very bad pick, which should have been a sign of things to come. Actually, him starting 9 of 21 should have been a sign that he's not a good football player anymore. That's just okay. Wait, I'm getting too ahead of myself because the first thing that I said whenever I came into this recording was okay. I'm not going to completely over exaggerate. I'm not going to rip on the Titans and say they absolutely suck because we can still end up okay. We've had some very horrible week 1 performances in the past. We got absolutely boat raced by the Cardinals 2 years ago, and we got the 1 seed that year. So like, I need to be an adult in this situation and tell y'all that this could end up okay. We can end up okay. And, then Arden Key got another sack like he always does. Like he had a lot in this game at least. Then Derrick Henry, he got a big reception that put us in the field goal range. And then we ended on a field goal Then then their offense came out. They got into the red zone, and Derek Carr threw an absolutely horrible throw. Like it was awful, and it was just like I don't know what he was doing. He threw it straight to a money hooker, and we ended off the first half. The first half was okay. I really like the first half. Great defense. The offense could have improved just a little bit, but defense was awesome. Anyway, let's go on with this second half. This is whenever everything started to go downhill. Now I do want to preface the first possession that we had. There was a no DPI call and a no holding call that could have very easily been DPI, and I think that it was stupid that it wasn't DPI, and that makes me very upset about how it should have been DPI. And I know that that play is not going to get shown off as much to, if we were the Jets and that happened, everybody would be talking about how bad of a no DPI that was. Trust me. And okay, let me preface as well. This is immediately after the game ended, so I may end up taking back a couple of things that I say in this episode because I'm very upset right now and I'm very angry about the way that the Titans played. But anyway, the offense did not play good at all. D-Hop did D-Hop things. He was good. Don't listen to the stats because here's the thing. The stats are completely lying to you. Tannehill just played that bad to the point where it made D-Hop's stat line look so much worse. And also, Tannehill, if he plays like this for the next 2-3 weeks, he's out the door. Now, do I think that's going to happen? No. I think that Tannehill is going to – this was a really good defense, and it's the first game in a new offense. I think we're going to come back in next week, and we're going to bounce back. Maybe not win against the Chargers, but I think we're going to have a competitive game against the Chargers. And, yeah, the secondary did not play good. And also, the officiating was really bad. They're not going to mention that either because I will say they owe a lot to the Saints, causing them so many big wins with how bad some officiating calls have been. I think that this was just making it up to them, if I'm being honest. But Nuke Hopkins did everything that he could. He tried. He tried his hardest to win this game with Tannehill, but Tannehill was just not on it today. It was hard to watch. Like he looks like if Tom Brady actually aged and he was 45. It looked like if Tom Brady was a 45-year-old quarterback and he had actually showed that he has aged. Like that's how bad it was. And also, Chig and Tajay had two wide open plays, amazing play designs by good old Tim Kelly, who I still stand by even after this game of, no good offense. But he had two wide open receivers. He had Chig down the field and he had Tajay down the field. He overthrew both of them, and both of them would have been touchdowns, and it would have been very easy touchdowns, and we would have walked out of here with a win. I am very, again, this is going to be a recurring theme. I am very disappointed in how Ryan Tannehill played. It was just, it was hard. It was hard to watch. He looks like he's a 70-year-old man trying to throw a football. Like that's how it felt. But anyway, Nick Folk is good. That's a bright side. I mean, our biggest weakness going into the year has probably became one of our biggest strengths now. Nick Folk was a good kicker today. He was the only reason we were even in the game. Like he played very, very solidly. And I was very happy about the fact that we at least had someone who wanted to win this game. Defense did everything in this game. At least the defensive line did. The secondary, but the defensive line did every single thing that they could. It was just such a bad performance by Tannehill and the offense that we just couldn't get anything going. Now I'm going to go over the negatives, and this is going to be a long list. Tannehill was awful. Worst game that I've ever seen him play. And I've seen some very bad Tannehill games. That's just the truth. Like, I was there. Like, I was in the stadium for the Bengals game. That game doesn't even come close, and that is saying a lot. That game does not even come close to how he played today. He played awful. And if he keeps this up, which I don't think he will, if he keeps this up, he's going to lose his job to Malik Willis or Will Levis. That's just stated in fact. And I think that Malik would try and take the reins at first, and he would either flop or he would throw a couple of picks and it just would all go down the toilet. And then if Levis started, he's too young. He's too young to play right. He's not experienced enough to play right now. But if we play like we did today, we're going to be in for a very ugly performance. Also, Christian Fulton, the man in his contract year, gave up the game-winning play, basically. Derek Carr sends it deep to a no-name receiver who is wide open, even though Christian Fulton should have had that dude covered like a blanket. Man. Like, Christian Fulton is in a contract year, and he did not play a good game. And also, another negative, that the whole secondary in general. Like Chalmers Bunting was getting in the way of Kevin Byard sometimes. Like the secondary was getting in the way of each other a lot, and the receivers would be wide open. And I know the offensive coordinator's fine. I still stand by this, though. Dennis Allen is not a good head coach. If he was, this game would have been so much worse. And I mean so much worse. Like, this would have been a beatdown. Like, this would have looked like, if you watched the Bengals-Browns game, that would have been what this was like if he didn't, if they had literally any other head coach in the NFL except for Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels would have found a way to choke it. But anyway, I need to take a drink because, like, golly, man. Like, there's so much to get really upset about. Okay? Treylon, where were you, man? Like, no one's going to... I don't know if that many people are going to talk about this, but, like, he does not look like he's improved. He dropped a pass on 3rd and 8, on 2nd and, 10. That was a very easy catch. And it concerns me a little bit that we may have made the wrong move. I mean, I already know that we made the wrong move. I know that we already made the wrong move trading A.J. Brown. But it scares me that we made the wrong move going after Treylon instead of some other receiver. Like, oh, man, I can't remember who else was picked that year. Elijah Moore was picked. He could have been... No, wait, that was the year before. There was someone else picked later in that round that I just... Oh, man, I can't remember who it was, but there was a receiver. Man, I don't know who it is, but if you know a receiver that went after Treylon Burks in that draft, just leave it in the comments section, please. Okay, because I know that there's in the comments section of YouTube at least, or somewhere else, tweet it at me. I don't care. Like, just let me know, because I know that there was one dude that like has grown to be like that guy with whatever team he was with. Okay. Anywho, yeah, another negative was the O-line, at least for the first 3 quarters. The fourth quarter, they stepped up. I'll give it to them. They played solid football in the fourth quarter. Now, they still allowed a little bit too much pressure for my taste, but like they still like they held it together in the fourth quarter. Like it was okay. Like if the O-line plays like they did in the fourth quarter, then Tannehill could end up being fine and whatever. But yeah, there are a lot more negatives that I could go over. Let me try and think of another. Oh yeah, we allowed a blocked punt. Now, thank goodness the defense held their own, and they stepped up and were able to make sure that to make sure that the Saints didn't get a touchdown out of that. But like, it was just, man, I wish I was old enough to drink. But anyway, sorry for any parents that were watching with someone else, but with like their kids or something. I'm just really upset. I'm in a really bad mood right now. Like, it is not fun. It is not fun watching a game like that. Like, I wish that at least New Orleans would have lit up the scoreboard because that would have at least made it an entertaining game. But like, it was so boring from beginning to end. No one scored touchdowns. Derrick Henry didn't score a touchdown. Like, how rare is that? Right? D Hop was fine. Don't get me wrong. Nick Westbrook-Akine was better than Treylon Burks today. Like, that is a very sad thing to say. Like, I remember one of my friends, was talking to me, not a Titans fan, Seahawks fan. It's like, I just don't see it. I just don't see what you see in Treylon Burks. Like, I feel like that he's about as good as Nick Westbrook-Akine, and I laughed at him. I thought that he was stupid. I didn't think that he was gonna. I didn't think that he was right whatsoever, and I thought that like I was be able to laugh at him after this week. But apparently, I was the stupid one. Nick Westbrook-Akine played better than Treylon. Now, am I saying that he couldn't bounce back and have a big week 2 and be one of the reasons that we win week 2? Not at all. But like, uh, you know, like it's just, ugh, man. This has been a really hard episode to record, honestly, because I was hyper throughout the entire game because my parents gave me some medicine to calm down my stuffy nose, and apparently it makes me a lot more hyper. So like, you know, man, it was just not. It was not good. Okay, let's look at the positives though. Okay, D line. I said it before. D line and Arden Key absolutely balled out. They were very good, and they're always. And I know that's always going to be a thing that's going to be good for us, but like they were a good team, but they were a good unit, and they were probably the only good overall unit of the day. Um, DeAndre Hopkins played good. Nick Westbrook-Akine played good. Both of those guys had very solid performances. And, you know, uh, yeah, Nuke did everything that he could to try and make sure that we stayed in that game, but unfortunately it was all for nothing because we ended up losing, and he probably feels like he made a huge mistake signing with the Tennessee Titans. And that pains me to say because I was so excited whenever we first got him. And now he may not even want to try that hard for us because of how bad Tannehill played. Another good thing was Derrick Henry played solid. I can't remember his stats exactly, but he made big runs whenever we needed him to make big runs. And Tajay also played very good. Like he had 1 2 yard run, but like his other two were like I think it was an 8 yard and a 15 yard or something around that. Excuse me, but there was one positive to this game that makes me a little bit hopeful for the NFL for our season to not just go completely down the toilet. This was one of the worst games that I have seen a Mike Vrabel coached Titans team play. And I genuinely believe that that was probably the worst that we will play this year. And we still were in the game with a very talented New Orleans roster. Now, yes, their head coach is a dingus. Horrible. I'm not too sure if he's going to be good enough for uh, to be the Saints head coach after this year. If they go 7-10, he's gone. Like they give him a quarterback, they have a great defense, great receiving core, good O line. Like if they go 7-10 or 8-9, he's out of there. But anyway, I give us credit because we were still in that game even late, which shows how good of a head coach Vrabel is. And I feel like that we can be better after this game, and if we just play better football, and which I feel like we are very capable of, I feel like that we can still reach that 11-6 mark. Because here's the thing: we have had some horrible Week 1 performances. Horrible. We lost to a Giants team fully healthy. Whenever we're fully healthy, we have no business losing to that Giants team. Also, we got boat raced by the Cardinals. Remember that? That was one of the worst games. That was probably the second worst game that I've seen in the Vrabel era, and we still and we still ended up getting the 1 seed that year. Like, I know that there may be a different vibe around this team because Tannehill just did so bad, but like, just you got to trust me on this, y'all. You got to trust me that we can bounce back and that we can be okay. Now, do I think that we are going to be like division winners? No, not even a little bit. Okay, like Colts are being competitive with Jacksonville. Calvin Ridley looks like a man amongst boys out there. Like, so yeah. We'll just see how the NFL season goes this year. But it's not looking good after week 1, and I gave our team a D minus. The only reason that's not an F is because of the D line and running backs and Nuke and Nick Folk. But like, apart from that, this team played awful. It was one of the worst performances I've seen in the Vrabel era, and I'm hoping that we will bounce back, which I think that we will. I think we're going to be okay, but I just got to see it before I can believe it. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. Um, I have a Twitter and an Instagram and a TikTok, and if you are on Apple, if you're on Apple Podcasts, it would be really appreciated if you gave me a good review. And if you are on any other podcasting service, I mean, a download wouldn't hurt. And if you're on YouTube, this whole thing is a lot more of a grind than I expected it to be. Like, I'm missing out on a family dinner tonight. So if you could subscribe for me, I would be very grateful, and hit the like button because I want to be able to make this my living. So I just need some help, y'all. Anyway, that's gonna do it for me. I love y'all, and tighten up.